Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Cynthia Colon. Welcome to Ivy League Admissions Secrets Challenge. This is a three-part series, and so thank you for being here. Thank yourself for being here. You're a rock star for getting the information you need. It's all about closing the information gap so we can close the education gap, and we can all have a seat at the table that we deserve. Hey, hey. It's all about how to get your child admitted to the most competitive colleges, no matter the odds or the obstacles. That is the goal here today. All right. So, hello, who's ready to change the trajectory of your child's life or your life? Well, some of you are students here, so you are definitely rock stars. So I hope you're excited as I am. As I just mentioned, we were just coming off another essay camp workshop, and it's always so exciting. My goal for you is that you listen, you actually hear what I'm saying, and it may only be 2 nuggets that you hear today. What are you going to walk away with today? Because there's lots of information. So listen and hear, and then learn and take action. That's really the hope and dream for me to you today. You just by being here, you're already becoming that dream builder that your child deserves. It's going to feel like you're drinking water from a fire hose, and that's okay. You might be thinking, oh my goodness, like who's this crazy woman? She's already talking so fast and coming at me, but keep calm. I know the countdown is on. There's so many of you who are rising seniors right now on the call. And so, the window is like it's coming up. And so you want to keep calm, and I got you. All right. I have one little rule for this whole series, and that is the fact that I will continue to use the word dream college and understand that what I mean by that is like, that's your dream. Whatever your child is dreaming of is, first of all, it's attainable, it's doable, and the dream is worth chasing after. Okay. So I don't necessarily mean Ivy League or top 100. It means whatever it means to you and to your family. So just stick with me. I'll guide you through everything you need to know. Okay, I'm jumping right in to share the story with you about this young woman who the Wall Street Journal ran a story on just a few years ago. And the story, I think, was titled something like Texas Rock Star, sometimes being a rock star is sometimes not enough, something like that. And the whole premise was that she was rejected 9 times. She applied to 11 colleges and she was rejected 9 times. Now, I want you to understand that I'll unpack some of this story along the way, but I want you to understand that everything in that article was completely avoidable. And after I read the article myself, I did a bit of homework. And so again, throughout today, I'm going to sort of walk you through and unpack parts of that article that came out so you completely understand how you don't have to go through that, right? Now, again, I want you to listen, learn, and take action because you are a dream builder. You might be thinking, well, who is this for? Am I in the right place? Did I sort of, click a link somewhere and I didn't mean to? Well, you're either 1 or 2. So type into the chat if you are number 1, which is you are a rising senior and you're literally months away from applying to college. Or 2, you are either just graduated, from middle school, so you're headed into high school, and you have the luxury of a little bit more time, but you're here to listen and learn and start to take action. So I think I know who we have in the audience, but let's just see. Type into the number 1 if you're a rising senior, or a number 2 if you're younger than that.
We have mostly 1s, but a few more 2s than I expected.
Okay. I love it.
Which is a good thing. A good thing.
Yes. Yes, you're definitely in the right place. I tell you, I promise. Okay, my goal today is to get you to believe that the only way for you to exponentially increase the chances of your child getting admitted to one of the top 100 colleges or their dream college is to stop repeating the same action steps of yesteryear. And if you are Gen X like myself, you rolled out of bed, you applied to a few colleges and you called it a day and you got into your dream college. That does not work anymore. So the only way that you can successfully gain access to top colleges and dream colleges is by leveraging the 3-step success formula that we will lay out for you in these 3 sessions. Okay. Now, you might be a little wondering, like, again, who is this? I'm Dr. Cynthia Colon. I worked at Vassar College and worked in college admissions. And really, the fact that I worked at a place like Vassar meant that I was recruited to become one of the first Gates Millennium Scholarship readers. Now, this was a while ago. They flew us out to San Francisco and we stayed up in a hotel and we had to literally walk to the office building that had a bank of computers. So if you can imagine that, right? So that's what we did. Now, what sticks with me about that experience is that we were all reading, there's a room full of us, but we were all reading these applications from star students from across the country. And basically I kept reading thinking, holy crap, like these are really talented students, just as talented, if not more, than the pool I see at Vassar. And the applicants had to list where they were applying to college in that application, their Gates Millennium Scholarship application. And by and large, most of them were applying to their state public system, whether it was University of Washington or University of Georgia, wherever they were applying from, that's where they were using their public schools as their main pathway. So nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm from California. I mean, really great, no judgment for the public system. But all I kept thinking was, wow, I don't think any of these students maybe don't know or don't realize, or maybe they're intimidated to apply to some of these Ivy League, Ivy level type of institutions, these top 100 colleges. So I started really scribbling down in a journal some ideas and some thoughts as to tips that I thought really the everyday student and family should know. And that ultimately became the premise for my book and all of the 30 tips and tales that are in the book, but also led to a shorter version of that in my TED Talk. But the Gates Millennium Scholarship period and that event was really sort of eye-opening for me, for sure. Now, my own personal story is that I'm a daughter of an immigrant mother. That's me and my mom in that top corner photo. We were big fans of Dr. Pepper back in the day. I'm a Pepper. And she really is the one who helped figure out and how to navigate and ask the questions that she needed to as a mom. And that led to me being admitted to and then ultimately graduating from my dream college, which was USC. So USC for me was like my Harvard. I was like, yes, this is where I want to go. And I went on to study and get my master's degree at Columbia University, which led me to get this job here at Vassar. That's the picture that you see there. Vassar College is one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever been to, and I've been to probably over 300. So, and then there's my mom and I, we often call ourselves a little Thelma and Louise. We take some field trips sometimes. So that's her, and that is her giving you a big toast for being here today. So my question right now is, have you ever felt this? Like, did you feel like maybe top colleges are a pipe dream? Have you ever felt like maybe this is just for the privileged or the well-resourced, or that this is not set up for the everyday family to succeed? Okay. If you've ever felt this, you are definitely not alone, and you're right and smart to be here and get the information that you need. So bravo. So I've been doing this for at least 17 years, but about 17 years, where I've met with hundreds of students one-on-one and hundreds of families one-on-one, visited over 300 colleges. I've interviewed over 100 college experts, and I have 20 years of essay camps and workshops that I've done. So all of the things I'm telling you in these next several sessions are from 17 years of experience that I've crafted and put into this for you. Now, you don't have 17 years to figure this out and crack the code yourself. Most of you don't even have 17 months to figure this out. So can I get a number 1 in the chat? Can I get a hey, amen? Like, give it to me, please, because I didn't want to stop researching all the answers.
One, 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 one.
Yes. Okay, good. Ooh, I'm so glad, because you guys, this is going to be a little bit life-changing. And I mean, I know that says a lot of gravitas, but it really, I think you'll walk away with at least one piece that you'll be happy you came. Okay. The 3 sessions are broken up into 3 parts, and today we begin with talking about the holistic applicant, and we're going to break that out into 3 parts. So we're going to begin right now with the college admissions is a business, all right? So if you haven't picked up on it, you probably need a little pen and paper. I'm old school, so I like pen and paper myself, but you can just take notes on your phone, whatever you're doing. But you just want to kind of close the door, really just be with yourself and give yourself this time to get this information. Okay, so let's begin by sharing with you. These are my colleagues. So I just mentioned that I worked at Vassar College. If you're not familiar with Vassar College or the term sister institutions and Ivy League institutions, they are 13 or 14. I don't know the math on that, but it's a group of colleges that are among the oldest and the most prestigious colleges in the country. They're all on the East Coast, and this is a group that I'm a member of just because I worked at one of those institutions. Because I worked at Vassar, you cannot buy membership into it. So I like to say that I learned from the best. I started my career in admissions by learning from the best in the country. So these are just, this was the 50th anniversary of that organization just a couple years ago. But let me back up just a second and give you a little history lesson. So in the mid to late 80s, US News and World Report came out with this list of best colleges, okay? Now, that was perfect timing because for the baby boomers had a huge population, and so colleges were just continuing to fill their doors and their heads in beds, so to speak. And then Gen X, that's my generation, came along, and there was a lower population, much lower. So colleges were needing to kind of figure out and scramble as to like how are they going to continue to fill their heads in beds. So they started recruiting like the East Coast colleges started recruiting more on the West Coast. And there's a podcast I have that goes into a little bit more detail there. But basically, suffice to say, the US News and World Report rankings was actually a good thing for the college perspective. Okay. Now, right around, a little bit later in the late 90s, Gen Y, or I think it's the next generation, the next generation, my sister's generation. There was, I think they're also known as the millennials. Like basically, there were more students, and they were trying to, they had more students that were applying. So it was sort of back to the baby boomers. Now, this was a great thing because these are all my colleagues again, and colleges are focused on the numbers. The business of college admissions is how many applicants can we get to apply to our college? And of those applicants, how many will we admit? And of the ones that we admit, how many will say yes? That is called the yield rate. And if if a college can get their acceptance rate to go down, 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 then their US News World Report rankings go up, up, up. The way to do that is by continuing to increase the yield rate. In other words, for every 100 applicants that we admit or that Harvard admits, probably about 85 to 90 of them are saying yes. They're saying, yes, I want to come, and accepting that. So colleges are trying to increase the yield rate and determine and guess who's going to say yes to them. Okay. All right. Now, here are some of my colleagues from Marymount High School. It's the girls' school that I worked at in Los Angeles. It's an elite girls' school in Los Angeles. The reason I was a hot commodity coming out of college admissions is because of this group, because I was trained and learned from the best on the East Coast. And so high schools now, especially private independent schools, were looking for people to hire to become an expert college counselor. So in addition to having regular school counselors at Marymount, there was one for every grade level. On top of that, they hired two, not one, but two college counselors for a senior class of 110. Okay, that's a student to counselor ratio of 55 to 1. All right, for most of you who go to a public or a Catholic school, that is well below the average at your school. Okay, so our job as expert admission folks who now become college counselors, our job is to give these secrets and tips that we've learned and strategies that we've learned from our elite private colleges and bring them to our schools. So that's exactly what I did. So these are my nieces. They were young. And basically, I started giving the Marymount students these secret tips. I'll give you like one example because I don't have time to give you all of the examples. But for example, I knew for a fact that most students, and it's still true now, apply to college with one of these 5 top majors. Biology, engineering, computer science, psychology, and communications. And for some schools, one of those might be business, right? Depends on the college. But those first 5 are by and large the most popular majors. So for the students who we were working with, we might say, let's kind of go in and find something that was very similar to one of those majors and still very clear that she wanted to do that type of major, but we just tweaked it. We just went and sort of, most students only know like 10 majors. So if you just do a little bit of homework, you can find 3, 4, 5, 10 majors that are very similar, but not exactly one of those 5 that I mentioned. So the secret worked. The strategies that we were sharing and implementing were working. We saw immediate success of more students, a higher percentage of our girls getting admitted to top 100 and top 25 colleges. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, this is just because they were at private school. But I promise you, I thought the same thing, to be honest with you. I sort of decided to take my show on the road and test it out in other places. And I promise you, like once I was like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't matter who you are. If we just apply the same tips and strategies, you're going to get better outcomes. You're automatically going to increase your chances by 25% or 50% or 75%. So here's an example that we work with. One of our districts that we work with is Linwood Unified School District. And they are, gosh, about 90 to 95% are on free and reduced lunch. And we applied the same strategies. We learned in their first year that the counselors at these schools were doing the same thing that I'm telling you. It doesn't work anymore what counselors were doing. Again, for me, it was many years ago. I'm Gen X. It doesn't work anymore. In other words, applying or suggesting to everyone in your high school the same set of colleges doesn't work because all of those colleges can't take everyone from every single high school. So we started to implement some strategies in diversifying their college list and diversifying a bit about what they do and how they distinguish themselves. And even here, it worked as well. So if it can work for them, I promise it can work for you. All right. So you want to really just understand that college admissions is a business, and the more you understand the business and the things that you can do strategy-wise, it's going to help you. All right, let's continue with some more nuggets here. All right, listen, learning, taking action. That's your motto today. All right, so this next piece here is always usually the big shocker. So understand that the competition that your child is competing against doesn't live in Wisconsin or some other state, although we have someone from Wisconsin today. So that's not where the competition is. It's not in another state. It's not even at the school down the street. The students that your children are competing against are sitting right next to them, literally in class, okay? The cohort of seniors from your child's high school is who they will compete with for each and every college they apply to. So let me just back up and just share with you how admissions committee works. So when I was at Vassar during the fall and early winter, we read applications, and I would take notes in my file, take notes on their AQs, academic qualities, PQs, and all of these things, which are leadership qualities. Okay, and then admission committee would begin. And for me, I had Texas, I had Florida, I had all of California. So what happened was when it came time for California, it meant that for 3 to 4 days, there were stacks and stacks of folders, and they were grouped by school and then alphabetized within the school group. So I would advocate, or I would represent each folder from one school at a time. So we'd go in alpha order by student. And then by the end, even though we had voted on a red, a yellow, or a green card, the end of my 60-second discussion about who this student was and the highlights of them, the committee would ask me questions, and then without words, we would vote, just holding up a red, a yellow, or a green index card, and the vote, was the vote. Two out of the three votes won the day. Now, at the end of that school group, we might go back and say, wait, did we do the right thing? Like, let's just make sure that we sort of double check, like, who we admitted and that it all makes sense. So that's how we reviewed, and that's how we made decisions. We made decisions by school group, by individual, but within a school group. Okay. Now, let me tell you about the school profile. The one thing that most families don't know about is the high school profile. Now, I want you to write this down, and you'll do this later. You're going to Google later on today. You're going to Google the name of your high school plus the words school profile. And what you're looking for is a PDF. Okay. So to go back to that Wall Street Journal girl, the Texas rock star, she's from McKinney High School. And it says it right there. Nothing I'm telling you is, I mean, it's all public knowledge. Okay. So I Googled McKinney High School school profile, and I pulled up the PDF that came right up. And on the PDF on the last page is a list of the colleges that students from McKinney High School had recently been admitted, meaning it usually lists the last 3 years. Sometimes it lists the last 5 years. Okay. On that list, I told you she was rejected 9 times. Of the 9 colleges she was rejected to, 7 of them were not on her school profile. Okay. Dr. C, why is this important? Why are you even telling us this? It's important because what that tells me is that for those 7 colleges, nobody from her high school in recent years had been admitted, which means there's not a relationship between that college and that high school. Okay. It doesn't mean it has to be, it just means it's a good start. It's a good way for you to think, that should have been the first clue to that counselor, that the counselor should have said to her, hey, Caitlin, like, all right, leave 2 or 3 on this list, but let's go find 4 or 5 others that would set you up for success. Okay. Now remember, we can't do what we used to do. Relying on a school counselor that is a generalist and not a college admission expert is just not the way to go. Okay. So in my opinion, the counseling system failed her there, because they should have easily red flagged that and said, your list is not correct. And I'm telling you right now, your list of colleges where you apply to is half the battle of getting success, more yeses than nos. The problem is the story that I'm telling you about Caitlin is not unusual. Every year, families tell me about the family or multiple families that they know that applied to multiple places. They were, 4-point blah, blah, and all the things, and they were rejected. So on my left here is Cosette, and she was rejected everywhere she applied to, not once, but twice. Once as a traditional age high school student, and then once a year later when she applied as a transfer student. Miles knew, or his family knew of a family friend who was either deferred, waitlisted, or denied at most of her top colleges. And for Miles' family, I remember Roxanne calling me, and she's like, oh my goodness, like this girl we know had, 4.5 or 4.3, and, very, very active, and was denied. So they were really panicking and saying, what can we do different? What is going on? And we want to make sure our only child has what he needs. Well, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, look, this all worked out for them. Yes, they just simply applied all of what I'm giving you are just like a few bits and key nuggets and strategies, but they were part of our programs, Dream College Academy, which I'll talk about a little bit later today. But basically, they applied everything that we taught them. And Cosette, who you'll meet here, she's delivered a message to you. So you'll meet Cosette in a second, and she'll tell you her story. It's pretty amazing. So the competition is closer than you think. So you're going to need a copy of your school profile so that you understand the context in which your child is competing. It will also give you demographic information, GPA information, average test scores. It gives you a lot of information that I just believe that every high school should give that out to every single incoming freshman to the school, so you have it right away. All right, I'm like gonna breathe for a second. Okay, please give a one if you've already learned at least one thing that you're like, oh my goodness. Or two if you're like, oh, I think I already knew that. It's okay. Some of you may have already known that.
Lots of ones, a couple twos. Okay.
Okay, good. I love it. I love if you already knew that, that's good. Either you've been following me or your school is doing a great job. Rule number three, or secret number three for today, is that early relationships matter and why you need to open these pesky emails. All right, so I'm going to tell you a story about when I was at Vassar, and I would travel the country during the fall season and a little bit in the spring as well to go and see my territory. So I would, I would present at different high schools across the country, and also we also would have these events, these major events at hotel, rooms, hotel ballrooms, or maybe someone's home. So I spoke a lot to a lot of students. I met hundreds of families every single season, including at fairs, etc. And occasionally, a student I met, or several, maybe a handful per season, honestly, would send a handwritten note saying thank you, or just reminding me that I had met them either at a school, at a fair, or at an event, at a hotel ballroom or something like that. And they just took the time to say hello and thank you for that. So I want to say something very clearly, and it may come across like, "Oh, I can't believe that." But look, college admissions is not fair because and it's not fair because it's not objective. It is subjected to the humans who submit those applications, you, the applicant, the student, and the humans who read them, right? We're human. And so I'm not embarrassed to say to you that when I would open the folder, the file that I was reviewing that particular day, if you had written a handwritten note, I guess these days it would be, an email. It could be an email, and they would print it out and they'd put it in the file, or they'd stick it in there. Nowadays, they just attach it electronically. But as soon as I opened the file, if there was a note from the student, whether it emailed or handwritten, it was at the front of the file. So yes, as a human being, I'm like, wow, this person, like Grace took the time to write a note. And we teach our kids to be, hopefully to be gracious and say thank you and please and all of this. So a note from a 15, 16, 17-year-old, what does that mean? Like, I mean, I ask those of you who are parents, like, think about, like, when's the last time a teenager, not your child, thanked you? Right? Maybe you picked up somebody's kid for something and took them home or whatever. It means a lot. And it means follow through. It just means that person went the extra mile. It also is getting at the whole fact of demonstrated interest. Okay. So here's a little hot tip I'm going to share with you. So remember earlier, we talked about US News and World Report. And so the colleges are focused on yield rate, right? The yield rate. So their acceptance rate goes down, and for every 100 applicants, they want more and more of them to say yes. Okay. So one of the ways they monitor that so that the yield rate goes up is through early action and early decision programs. So if you're not familiar, these are programs that the deadline is November 1st or 15th. And especially with early decision, there are some colleges that are bringing in somewhere between 40 and as much as 65 or 70% of their freshman class through early decision. Now, 70% is not the average, you guys, I just said. So just keep that in mind. It's like 50, 55%. So I want you to imagine that if an entire applicant pool, if 1/4 of the applicant pool applies early decision, but 50% of the spots go to that quarter of the applicant pool, for the other remaining 75% of the applicant pool that applies regular decision, there's still only 50% of the spots are still left, okay? So that first 50% of filling the freshman class means that that's 100% yield rate. So their yield rate is going up by using early decision programs, okay? Another way that they help to grow their yield rate is by demonstrated interest. So very much similar to what I just shared with you by sending a note or whatever. One of the things that they do, not all colleges, some colleges, is when you sign up for their newsletters and they're sending you emails and they're inviting you to different things, they want you to open their emails. They're tracking how often you open their emails and how often you stay on them. They're tracking what's called demonstrated interest. And if you are someone who's opening it, then they're thinking you're very interested. So you're courting them just like they're courting you. So it's a two-way street. So that's how you would get sort of like gold stars next to your name. Every time you open an email, you're like getting a gold star. Okay. Oof, that's a lot. Is this making sense? I hope so. I'll take some questions, not to worry. All right. All right. So there's the old way. Like my mom literally like picked up the phone, called Mr. Vargas and was like, please help me. I don't know what to do. And his advice that she was courageous enough to ask for got us to where we needed to be. And he literally changed the trajectory of my life for sure. We've used these strategies across, we've been sort of Zooming before Zooming was a verb, and we've had students from across the country since 2017. So here is just some here now. Okay. Here are some of our success stories. Curtis from DC, Juliana from New York. In session 3, you'll meet both of these students live, and they'll share with you their message. These are ordinary students. They are, not curing cancer. They're not Olympians, none of that. They're no Mother Teresa. They are just, ordinary students who decided to have extraordinary vision for themselves and made a decision to really sort of go all in, so to speak. And just a couple more. Jaylyn from Texas and Julia from California. That was Jana from Illinois and Alexis from California. Okay. Again, they are not superhuman. All right, so early relationships do matter. You want to be sure that you're going to open up those pesky emails. I know it's annoying, but you got to do that to get their gold stars. So hopefully you're listening, learning, and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to take action on? I want you to be thinking about that right now. What is the one thing I'm going to do in the next 24 or 48 hours so that I continue to move myself forward? So my mom does have a question for you. Do you think if you sort of treated this like a business, you got a copy of the school profile, you started building relationships, and remember, this is just step 1 of the secrets I'm teaching you. Like just this alone, you could help increase your child's chances by 25%, maybe 50%, maybe 75%, right? So do you think if you just applied some of these tips and I gave you even a deeper dive, you could make that happen, right? Type it in the chat. The number 1, if you think, yeah, yes, I get it. Doing some of this will really help. Seeing yes, hopefully you're seeing yes. There's the win is there. I promise you guys. These are not superhuman. So it wasn't that long ago that your child was literally in elementary school and now their future is in your hands. So just want you to imagine what that's going to feel like. I mean, you can do this on your own. You can search for the answers or go to your school. I mean, listen, if you have a school, if your son or daughter is at a school that has under 75-1 is the student to counselor ratio, then you're probably in pretty good hands, honestly. So, but this is Jana. You just saw her slide, and this was literally her face. So you want to think like, what is this face worth? And again, I'm saying dream college, but for me, I literally like called my mom while she was working at the bank and said, the letter is here. She was like, oh my God, open it. And I was screaming, still remember exactly where I was and running around the house screaming like a crazy woman. And so was my mom at the bank. All right. So I'm going to give you just a brief, tomorrow I'll go over this in more detail in our next session, but briefly, Dream College Academy and our live sessions weekly with these incredible admission experts and College Essay Bootcamp are all included in this online and on-demand course that we offer. Okay, so again, tomorrow I'll go into even more detail because I want to get to you so that you can meet Cosette. But this is the price as it is. But Stephanie is going to give you a surprise. She'll be sharing with you because you're here and on this call, she'll be sharing with you a deep discounted coupon code to use. But more than anything, I just want you to see that there's one main product, which is the Dream College Academy, which is inclusive of everything we do. If you did nothing else and just bought that, you get basically 4 years worth, and you get 2 users, 2 accounts. But for those of you who want to upgrade, you'll learn more throughout the sessions. You'll learn more about College Essay Bootcamp. You'll learn more about just getting an action plan, and there's also VIP coaching. Okay. All right. Let me share with you Cosette. You've got to meet Cosette.
So picture this. It was 2018, senior year of high school. The seniors gathered around the hall, waiting eagerly for the annual billboard that was hung largely and proudly for everyone to see. This billboard was special. It had a list of all the seniors by name and the colleges they were admitted to underneath. Coming from a prestigious Catholic school, we had some big names: NYU, USC, UNC Chapel Hill, Harvard to boast. But there was one student whose name was not on that billboard, and it was me. My name is Cosette Rosales, and I was a girl that did not get accepted to a single college in my senior year of high school. In high school, I ran by the motto that 9th and 10th grade didn't count, and it was time for fun. Within a blink of an eye, junior year came, and it was time to apply for colleges. I was only equipped with a 2-hour meeting with my college counselor and just pure delusion that I would get into Stanford with my 3.2 GPA. I was so unprepared, and everyone already knows how I ended up. It took me 2 more failed attempts as a transfer student of the college admissions process that I knew I was doing something wrong. Seeing how defeated I was in not getting into a school, that's when my mom found Dr. C. Dr. C proudly preached that anyone can get into their dream college, and she knew the keys to success to stand out: the tools for writing essays, finding out what makes you, you, since she was once an admission officer herself. I registered, devoured each module, and by the end of it, I felt so prepared to apply for the 3rd time for college. I applied in November, and I received news in April that I was accepted to UC Berkeley and my dream school, UC Santa Barbara, which I was rejected from as a senior in high school. Now, I graduated from Berkeley last May, and I have a job in my field where I design websites. Please don't be like me. Let me only be an example of what not to do. It took me 3 times to get accepted into a college, but take away the only resounding fact that I would not have graduated and got accepted into Berkeley without the help of Dr. Cynthia Colon.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Put some shout outs in the chat for Cosette. I mean, she, went from this face on the left to this face on the right by just tweaking what she was doing. She understood that students are not rejected, applications are rejected, and she really devoured Dream College Academy. She watched every module, like she said, and she showed up to every live event and learned from our expert guests every single week. So yay for her. All right. I'm going to give you a couple of must-dos, should-dos, and could-dos, and give you a sneak peek as to what the next session will bring, and then I'll take some questions. But one of your must-dos, in my opinion, should be this. If you haven't already, get a family email that is just for college, okay? Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're a rising, freshman or rising senior, you're going to get a lot of mail once you enter into this process. So you want to create an email that basically once your student graduates from high school, you can just delete it all because there's a lot that will be coming in there. So I would get a family email that everybody can be helpful in checking. That's number 1. Number 2, you should look for your high school profile. Again, you're going to type in the words, the name of your high school plus the word school profile, and it should come up. If it does not come up and you cannot find it, call the counselor and ask them to send you a digital copy. You could go on to a couple of websites for colleges and go to the admission page and sign up. Sign up for their newsletter, sign up for their notifications. I would do that after getting a family email so that it goes directly there. Okay. A sneak peek for tomorrow's session, our session number 2, is that we're going to be going over this leadership hierarchy chart. And this hierarchy chart, I'll break down some of the students that we've worked with. You heard Cosette talk about coolness factor. Alexis, who you'll meet her parents tomorrow. Basically, she reached all levels of this. So school involvement is pretty much all 2 million plus students reached level 1. That's not how you're going to stand out. And school leadership is like, student body president or editor in chief. That's level 2 of leadership. What most students fail to understand is how do I stand out? Well, how do you stand out comes at levels 3, 4, and 5. And that is what I'll be breaking down for you tomorrow in much more detail. Okay. All right. So keep dreaming, everyone. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. I'll take some questions. Also, you should know that immediately after this, we're going to, if you receive the VIP link, we're going to go right into the VIP room. Oh, the sun is coming in. And I'll help you if you have questions about the school profile or how to find it. Okay. Questions, you can type them into the chat, or you can just unmute yourself or raise your hand with your emojis.
There was one question about the school profile, if it doesn't actually give statistics on college, if it only gives statistics about the school itself.
Yes. Okay. So that drives me nuts when it's not complete. So sometimes they're listed in 2 places. So I have, every time I meet with a private client for a family consultation, that's the first thing I ask them to look for. And so sometimes you'll find the school profile. And then if you maybe go back and Google the name of the school plus the words college acceptances, sometimes it's just in a different document somewhere. Or sometimes you can find that also just on the school website under the counseling section. So try that.
This one says, my rising senior is at an astronomy camp doing research. She wants to major in physics. What would be a coolness factor?
Yeah, we'll talk about that even more tomorrow, and I would invite you to join the VIP tomorrow as well. So because there are a lot of ways to go about a coolness factor, and that's a individual question that I'd love to help you unpack in the VIP tomorrow.
We have another question about the interest. Should we believe that a college that states in their common data set that the demonstrated interest is not considered?
If it says it's not considered, then you have to take that for if it's listed there in the common data set, then take that for its value. And I will say that the more elite the colleges, the more competitive, like HYPS, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, and the schools like that. I remember going to Princeton. I took my nephew with me one year, and we had signed up, like we'd done the right things. We got online and made a reservation. And the first thing I did was I went to the receptionist desk to check in. And they just looked at me like, no, that's fine. Just take a seat. So they were clearly not in a hurry to know who was there. So yeah, take it for face value. There are a lot of schools that I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, and the biggest examples of that are Northeastern, Tulane, and I also think University of Chicago, maybe even Hopkins. But Northeastern is definitely known for that. If you looked up their acceptance rate just 10 years ago and what it is now, it's significantly lower. So many are using that for ranking's sake.
Next question, if my school has never had a relationship to a college, how can my student get noticed or accepted?
Okay, great. This is a great question, and I'll do a deeper dive. Well, we've got some time now, but I'll do a deeper dive in VIP. So there is a way for you to, some of my private clients right now, that's the case, but we started working together in sophomore year. So basically there's a way for you to figure out and find who your admission officer is. So if you were to go to Vassar's website, I'm assuming that's true today now, you could figure out, or you could learn that the person who reads or is in charge of California would have been me. That would have been my, profile on the website. And so there's usually a way for you to communicate. Sometimes it gives you the email address of that person right there. Sometimes you have to click a link, but you find out who that is. The demonstrated interest that I think works for me, I think it works even better, is building a relationship with that person. So I have my private clients on a system that, like, okay, every few weeks, so I help them figure out what they're going to say in each of those emails and all of that. Some of that we do, that would be in Dream College Academy, I believe. Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's in module 4, part 2. We go over demonstrated interest in how to do that and how to attack that. So, but those of you who are here and are younger than class of, the rising senior class, you're in good shape because you have some time to do that. The question is, if I do an internship at an Ivy League school, will it help in getting accepted to that college? So, and you can unmute. So, a couple ways I'll answer that. So a direct internship with a professor at a school, any college, can be helpful because you'll be able to write about that. So it shows intellectual curiosity, which is at the top of the pyramid chart, which I'll explain even more tomorrow. That's number one. Number two, obviously you've been to the campus if you're doing it live, if you're actually there, so you're comfortable with it, so you're very invested, and that's certainly a level of demonstrated interest. So that's important as well. And then honestly, if it's in your field, which I imagine it would be, if someone that you're working with wrote you a letter to add to your file, that would be helpful as well. It's never a guarantee, but that is certainly a whole nother level of interest, connection, evidence towards your major, et cetera. A lot of things that fills, right? And then the level 5 on the chart. So yes. The other thing I was going to say for those who do programs, there are a number of programs, summer programs that you can do. As many of you know, if you just type in the word pre-college programs and plus the words of whatever it is that you're interested in, physics, astronomy, nursing, whatever, you'll find a list of pre-college programs. So that's one of the whole goals of the pre-college program, is to get you to campus, because they know if they can get you to campus, the chances are you're going to like it. I mean, if it's a great place, or you're going to discover that you don't like it, right? So being able to say you did that program and that now you can speak more holistically and really specifically to what you love about the campus and about the major, that's going to be helpful as well. Again, in and of itself, doing a program at that school isn't going to give you so many more golden stars that you're going to rise to the top. It's just helpful on so many other levels, which is what we've talked about today. Understanding the college, understanding where you come from, demonstrated interest, college is a business. All of this is a business. So if you can just look at it through that lens, that's what you're doing. You're giving yourself the edge because you have a deeper knowledge of that college.
Okay, we have a few more questions in the chat.
Okay, I see Marcy's. Okay, so how can my son develop a relationship with his counselor even though he finds? Oh, okay. Ooh, this is a good question, Jen. Okay, good. I think I want to make sure I don't miss all of these questions that have come through. Okay, so Jen, I see this is just here, right here. I see. Okay. Big tips, because remember, I was on both sides of the desk. I was on the admission side, which we call it the receiving end. And then I was also on the shipping end. I was the director of college counseling at Marymount. And I will tell you this, first of all, flattery will get you far. That's number one. Number two, those of you who are younger, go in. I always had, even at a place like Marymount, which they knew they were going to get, great service from our office, even early on. I had one or two girls, and I talk about these girls in my book, in I think chapters 1 and there's another one later. They would come in, those who were really after it, whatever that means, again, whatever dream colleges, they set appointments. One set up an appointment before starting her freshman year, and another one set up an appointment before her sophomore year. I can't remember what her name is in the book, so I don't want to say, but she's in chapter 1. And we backwards engineer. So today in our VIP session, Stephanie has a treat for you, which is we're giving you the action plan. So I'll go over the action plan, and it's basically what I did with these girls that would come in early, and we would backwards engineer how to get to their goal. What do I mean by that? We would backwards engineer their academic pathway and their personal quality pathway, their co-curricular pathway, and if there's any coolness factor pathway, we would map that out. So the girl that I'm thinking of, again, I can't remember what I call her. Melissa, I think Melissa's her name in the book. I use all my cousin names in the book. So she's Missy. And Missy and her dad came in and she wanted Ivy level schools. And the dad and the mom had gone to college, but they'd gone to state schools here in California. And so she had a different idea. So she made a plan. Literally, we made a plan that day. It was a 2-hour meeting. And she chipped away at that plan exactly to the T. I still remember her essay. It was about countdown shows and her own countdown in life. And she went to Yale. The books, the stories in the book are all based on real people, but I changed their names and sometimes I change like the school. So I think I say that she goes to Yale, but it's some Ivy League in this book. But so that's what we're going to do today as a group in the VIP session. So super excited if you're going to join there. Okay. There were other questions. Gosh.
What if my son's college counselor doesn't agree with his college list?
Oh, okay. So this happens every year. A couple things. One, oh, I didn't really answer Jen's question. So let me just do the whole counselor thing. One, always pop in, say hello, be super friendly, just do all the things that you want, to do to win someone over. I used to tell students, and I think I say this in the book too, and in Dream College Academy in the modules, like go into their office. Like if you went into my office when I worked at Marymount, you would see that I loved college bears that had the college shirts, like, that I collected collegiate bears. And you would also see I collected Wonder Woman things. So if you ever wanted to get me a gift, Starbucks was not the answer, right? Go and, the next time you're out of college and you don't have to spend a ton of money, but like I'm saying, a little $10, $15 here, a little gift. Oh, I thought about you, whatever. I know you collect this. Think about the counselor, because at the end of the day, you need people to help you get what you want. And the best way to do that is to just be super kind and be thoughtful. Okay. Just like saying thank you at the end of a class goes a long way. The college list. Okay. I can answer even more in the VIP session, but for example, the Wall Street Journal girl, I obviously don't agree with what the counselor did or allowed her to do. Cosette, same thing. You just met Cosette. And that's the same thing that happened to her. Like, what was she doing applying to Stanford with 3.2? Like, what counselor says, oh, that's a good idea? Without also say, I would have said, you know what, everybody deserves a dream, apply to Stanford, but like, let's come up with a better list, like that you'll have success. So in that case, this is what you need to do. You're here for that reason. You're here because you're like, I need a second opinion and I need to figure out how this works on my own. What I say we specialize in is helping students figure out how to get admitted to the best college possible for them, right? So in the world of real estate, I always say, like, everybody has a housing budget. If you live in California, you can barely afford a 1-bedroom, right, of anything. But whatever your budget is, like whatever your GPA and your hierarchy of leadership, you know, whether you want to admit it or not, you kind of know like where your child falls-ish. But you are here because as a parent and as the kid, they're like, but how can I get the best? How can I get like that college that's just out of reach to say yes? So there are 100 top 100 colleges. You're looking for one to say yes. So will our programs help you figure that out? Yes. And more than that, will our programs teach you how to be a better applicant? Because students aren't rejected, applications are, which is exactly what Cosette did. Cosette's mom was like, this can't be all my daughter. Like, it can't be her. Like, she keeps getting rejected. She's not getting anywhere. I've got to help her. And as soon as Cosette just continued to watch and learn and do, watch, learn, and do, it changed everything. So, okay, that was a long answer to that. I'll take one more and then we'll hop over to VIP. Anything other topics, Stephanie, that we should address?
Let's see. Are there such things as safety schools anymore?
Oh, that's a good one. Not really. I'll be honest with you, not really. And I'll tell you why. I mean, okay, so I say that very flippantly because of what I'm about to say that has to do with today. There are colleges now that, because they're so concerned about their rankings and trying to increase their yield rate, there are perfectly qualified applicants who get rejected every year at schools that you're like, this should have been like, my kid got into Berkeley. Why didn't they get into University of San Diego, or whatever the equivalent is in your state? Well, sometimes, and I'll just use Jonna as my last example, who you saw. Jonna's at Princeton now. Jonna didn't get in, none of the students I just showed you today, they didn't get in everywhere. All of them were rejected somewhere. And sometimes they were rejected at what you would term as lower on the totem pole than a Princeton, right? And why? Because maybe when they read her application, they thought to themselves, there's no way she's going to come here. There's no way she's going to say yes and accept us because she's such a rock star. She's going to get in somewhere else. So I don't want to waste an acceptance on her. So they either waitlist her or deny her. Okay. Look, whether you agree with it or not, it's not necessarily, it's not fair. My TEDx talk is called College Admissions is Not Fair. And students aren't rejected, applications are. Every college has their own priorities and what they're looking for, what their needs are. If they just built a new STEM building, like, of course they're looking for, if they just built a new dance, program and major, when USC built a new dance major, like, yeah, they were looking for dance majors then. So it is a fine dance and strategy of what to do and where to apply. And so Dream College Academy gives you all of those modules and walks you through in a much deeper way than, each module is longer than this session is. So it gives you a deep dive. Okay. Oh my gosh, that went by so fast, you guys. So if you have the link for VIP, I'm going to close out this session and hop into VIP. So it'll be a smaller group, and I'm happy to answer some questions and we can go over your profile. I'll even show you, I can show you McKinney High School profile and show you what I see and why it didn't work for that Texas Rockstar. Okay. All right. So good to see you. You guys, we'll see you again in session 2. You're going to have an email and tell you exactly where to be. It's tomorrow morning. So if I'm going to get up early, you do too. Okay. I'll see you all tomorrow. All right. Hop on over to VIP right now.
Check your email to see if you got the VIP link. That's where Dr. Colon will be in just a second.